welcome back to our channel. And welcome to a new installment of the Silver Nugget series where we talk with subject matter experts. And today, as you can notice, we are in a very beautiful new surrounding. We are at Metronome and we're going to be speaking with our very lovely guest, Miss Dawn Alibudbud, and she is the Experience Manager here at Metronome. And we're going to be talking all about the customer experience. Miss Dawn, can you tell us a bit more about your role here at Metronome?
Hi, yes, of course, I'd love to. I am the Experience Manager. What that means is that I'm responsible for absolutely everyone's entire experience here at Metronome, which I believe starts long before the guests even make it through the door. And that's something that my colleagues and I really try to be very mindful of every step of the way. Like reservations, for example, is a very crucial step into giving them the idea of the kind of restaurant or the kind of experience that we want to provide for our guests.
That's really good. So you talked a little bit about reservations and I want to pick up from there. What things make it very crucial? The word used was crucial when it comes to reserving here at Metronome.
I think that when it comes to any type of communication with guests, everyone can be very mindful or even sensitive. So how you speak with them is something that you always want to be very careful with, because you never want to give the wrong impression and you always want to give the best possible representation of yourself as well as the company that you're representing. So in our case, one of the things that I try to prioritize, of course, is to make it as personable or personal as possible. So as much as possible, we try to address guests by their first names, or if not, just the appropriate gender or title that they identify with.
Right.
And then there is also a lot of effort into remembering what your last conversation was, when their last visit was, and that really makes such a huge difference when you're talking to someone and you think you're just asking for a table, and then to have somebody answer the phone and they actually know who you are. It makes a very nice impression to them, and I think it's one of the main reasons that, aside from the fantastic experience that the company has already laid out with the kind of food that we serve, the ambience, as you mentioned, it's a really beautiful restaurant.
It really is.
Aside from that, what I think we try to remember is that when you're dealing with guests, they're also people. So the first thing that you want is to remember that if you're dealing with a person, there are certain steps first, and it's not like a robotic exchange of questions or information that's just as simple as what is your name and who are you reserving for, how many are in your party. Like, it's always a conversation. And even like when guests arrive, it doesn't take that much effort, I think, to just open your eyes and try to perceive as much as you possibly can about the situation of a person. So, like, for example, obviously if they arrive and the first question isn't always who is your reservation under, or it's going to be a table for how many. It could be as simple as how are you, or if you can see that they're carrying a lot of things, it's helping them out and just getting them in that mood first, where they're like, you're really attending to everything that they are.
I think that's really nice. I think you're pointing to how you can make your customers feel valued and important as soon as they touch any contact point of the metronome experience.
Yes, exactly.
And I want to talk about what are some of the guiding principles that you adhere to when you try to provide this really good customer service experience for your guests.
I think that starts with the standards that we have already established and who we try to be as a restaurant or
Okay.
as a brand.
Okay, could you like give us maybe 3 principles?
I think I'd have to say that those 3 things would be professionalism, consideration,
Okay.
and consistency.
Okay.
A lot of guests or individuals refer to us as a fine dining restaurant,
Right.
and this is not exactly how we choose to identify ourselves. We would prefer to call it a refined casual dining experience.
I like that. Refined
Yes.
casual.
Yes,
Okay.
it's quite catchy, really. And for us, what it means is that we do maintain a very high level of professionalism. There has to be a level of consideration or softness where we don't want to seem unapproachable
Right.
as a brand, because obviously it's about service. It's
Could
about
be alienating, right?
yes. We don't want to ever make anyone feel like they wouldn't be welcome here just because they might not be used to this scene.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most crucial parts of my role as the experience manager, to be able to provide equal parts of the professionalism to the guests that require that much attention or that much regard, but as well as the consideration for the guests who might be experiencing something like this for the first time, and you want to make them feel like they're very included and that they're very welcome.
Right.
And yeah, of course, with all of that, it really doesn't mean anything if it isn't consistently done on a daily, if not more often basis.
That's really, really nice. And that's very well presented in a way, I think, that a lot of people will feel piqued. You know, their curiosity will be piqued and they'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't tried that kind of experience before, so I think I'm going to check out Metronome for the people that don't actually know it exists
Yes.
yet. Yeah. So, Dawn, how do you make sure that everybody on the team is on the same page in
Well-
terms of, you know, those 3 principles that you had just mentioned?
I think I'm really, really lucky with the team that we have, because we all want the same thing. We all have that mindset where we do want to please everyone that we encounter. But at the same time, we're also in the same page when it comes to making sure that the standards are followed together with the brand that we're representing. So it's a very delicate balance, I'd say, of providing that kind of level where you're like, this is us, this is Metronome, this is what we do. But at the same time, we do also do our best to make that as personal to different guests as possible, because not everyone wants to be served the same way.
That's correct. And it's bad to assume that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So some people, for example, they don't want you to be talking a lot because they're busy with their meeting,
Yeah.
or they just have a lot on their mind. So you just give them their space. But then there are also guests who you can tell they really want to strike up a conversation with you, understand more about what it is that you're serving them, etc. So it's really about that, and just always being aware and careful of the difference of those guests.
Okay, so in our last video, we talked a little bit about empathy and why it's so important. Would you say that some of the things, because you mentioned some words like being very careful and kind of knowing how to read the guests, would you say that empathy plays a big role in how well you're able to respond to each
Definitely,
guest?
yes. When you have that quality, and when that's something that guests feel from the whole team, it really gives them the kind of experience that I think they would have come to Metronome or places like us for.
Okay. And when I was talking about the making sure you're on the same page, do you have regular check-ins
Oh, yes.
as a team? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
For me personally, there is a lot of personalized coaching or training
Okay.
with my team, and every day we do have our meetings or briefings
So
before
daily
dinner
meetings.
service.
Okay.
Yes, and it's very important for me for my team to also be aware of all the things that the guests with our reservations. Like a lot of guests have very specific needs or preferences, so that's something that we talk about.
Do you have a
during our
logbook or?
Yes, we do have all of that written down, but of course, I also have this very interesting talent
Share.
where I just remember everything that everyone orders all
Wow.
the time, where they sit. That really makes a big difference when you're coming to a restaurant and you feel like you were part of something, and it's not like even if you had just come here once, we remember how you like or how you prefer to be served.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's
yeah,
really
it's great. So
a big skill to have.
yes, exactly. So refining that every day with my team is a goal and something that we try to really be careful of and observe.
Okay. And if you were to describe like what is the metronome experience so that we can get more people excited about visiting this really wonderful place, how would you describe this?
I would say that the metronome experience is about refined casual dining. We have Chef Miko, who is a very talented, very passionate chef, who brought back the training that she did. She went to culinary school in France, and her professional training with Rabuchon has also been such a big part of what metronome is, and being able to provide the service that can go along with that, that is at par with that, is it's just been incredible, and it's something that we try to make even almost like, I think I can say, like to give justice to the kind of talent, to the kind of food that we're presenting, even the kind of wines that we serve. I think that we provide the kind of experience where guests feel like everything is consistent, with the food being at the level that it is. Service has to be at par as well in terms of quality and consistency.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. Chef Miko is a very talented chef, and just a while ago when we were able to enjoy some of her dishes, I personally felt all the care and the love that went into the presentation, and the processes that the food had to have gone through to taste the way it did. And it's nice to see that being translated also in terms of how you treat each guest, like you said, the way they want to be treated because of the way you have observed them. Yeah, that's really special. What for you would be some inspiration that you live by as you do this very complex role at Metronome? Where do you draw inspiration?
I think every day I'm actually inspired by just being around other people and in other restaurants. To be frank with you, I do not have a background in food and beverage nor in service.
Okay.
I just like going to restaurants. I just love eating.
Yeah.
And
don't we all?
because of that, I was able to build myself up the way I did, where becoming an experience manager means providing the kind of experience that the restaurant or that the brand was hoping to provide to each guest. And that's something that is so much more than just about the plates that are being served or the quality of the food that's being served. Like I had said before, actually, I feel that any restaurant with good food, that's great. And there are many talented chefs, especially here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But being able to provide guests with an experience where they are pleased with both the food and how it's presented, because it's not the chefs who are going to bring food down,
Right.
that they cook for you so that they can tell you about it.
Yeah.
Having that competency with service and being in tune with the kitchen or with the chef, like that unity in the team where we're all in the same mindset and we all have the same goal, and this is what we want to provide to our guests. That's something that we strive very hard every day for, and we really hope that's something that our guests also appreciate.
Yeah. And would it be safe to say that you have to love people
Oh yeah.
to do this job?
Yes, I really, really do. It's something that my colleagues and I, doing service, it's something that it's something that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
We like talking to them and understanding them, and in doing so, we're able to serve them better.
Yeah. That's so wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Miss Dawn,
Oh, thank you, Miss Rhea.
for sharing your time and all the wonderful silver nuggets that we picked up today. Thank you for all of you who joined us for this episode. And please, if you would like to find out more about Metronome, we will flash their information in the description box so that you can have that Metronome experience. Thank you so much for watching, and keep growing with Silver Train. Thanks, everybody. Bye.